Well, I must really like our next guest. You know him as a syndicated columnist in newspapers throughout the country, a contributor to the Daily Caller. In this Christmas season, he says that when everyone's wondering if they're on the naughty or nice list, he's wondering what with his columns in this crazy administration, if he's on the list at the FBI, the IRS, and Homeland Security. He's been with us twice before. As I say, we must like him. We keep inviting him back. There's a reason for that. Welcome, Ron Hart. Okay, Ron, this week the Democrats are trying to make their list of who's their potential presidential candidate, and the name that pops up the most, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, it's a blast from the past. She was on she's doing some podcasts right now about learning things she learned over time, like how to make it look like an accident and things like that. If I did it and things like that. But to be fair, you got tragedy in her family. You got all these. You're from Arkansas.
Yes.
How'd you get there alive, by the way?
Well, they don't know where I'm at on any given day. That's right.
You were afraid to start your car at one point. But no, I feel sorry for the Clintons. They buried 10 family and friends last year, just last year only. Three were just napping. So to be fair, but she called this Ghislaine Maxwell, the Epstein lady in prison, and said, "Look, let's hang sometime." Pretty brutal. So you were up against them. You were the Republican against the Clintons in Arkansas. You know more than anybody
Look, I
else.
know the drill over there. Believe me, it was a tough gig to follow them. It's
got to be tough. Very charismatic, very good, but Arkansas is tough. I mean, they leave a trail in their past.
Well, politics is a blood sport there, I can tell you, and I've got a lot of tire tracks and scars all over me from it, that's for sure.
And the next best candidate is Kamala Harris, who has this kind of resting smirk face, the Democrats do not have a very deep bench, right? So they're digging pretty hard. Joe Biden, he thinks his name's Brandon right now, I think. It's tough on him. And the inflation's so bad. There's a new diet I'm on right now. Instead of buying food, I just eat the cash itself. Just gonna eat the food itself. But, Paskey, what's her name? The little Raggedy Ann spokesperson.
Jen Psaki.
Oh, Psaki, yeah. She has a tough to explain. They give her a hard time about inflation. She goes, well, yeah, I know there's inflation, but on the good news, there's nothing on the shelf to buy. So...
I mean, Biden is talking about that he's going to run again. Jen Psaki says that he's going to run again. Yeah. But the Democrats are already lining up people because they don't think he'll have a pulse by then. I mean, I'm just amazed that this is still...
Well, we're currently living through like a weekend at Bernie's type of administration. So, and I'm not entirely sure who's running the show up there. I mean, this is a terrible time for the country. It reminds me of Jimmy Carter. You're old enough to remember Jimmy Carter.
Well, I'm old enough to remember Dwight Eisenhower. What are you talking about? Okay, one of the big news items over the last couple of weeks has been the Jussie Smollett verdict.
Yeah.
This guy, I mean, with all the evidence that was so unbelievably against him, he maintained throughout the entire trial that it was all just an attack on him and a racist attack. Somebody put a noose around his neck, and he kept it on his neck until the cops got there an hour later. Yeah,
the demand for racism is a lot higher than the supply in this country currently. I think that people understand that. Although I think he'll be acquitted. I know he got convicted, but there's 100, non-guilty verdicts in the mail right now that will come in Chicago, and probably let him go. So,
mail-in verdicts, is that the new thing we got in Chicago?
That's what they got in Chicago right now. But any advice to Jussie, I would say, I know it happened. Just don't beat yourself up over it. I mean, but it's terrible. They fined him $130,000. He didn't pay the fine, right?
Yeah.
So, he was going to go down to pay the fine, but a couple guys beat him up and took his money, and he couldn't pay the fine. So, and that just tells you what we're up against. The highest form of a Democrat is to be a victim, right? Everybody wants to be a victim.
Yeah.
And look, we know what America's like. It's not as bad as it's portrayed by Hollywood and the left. The Cuomo brothers, there's 100% unemployment right now among the Cuomo brothers. CNN, CNN's on the ropes right now. You got the Titanic and the CNN are very similar. They're a little different. When the Titanic went down, they had their anchors. So,
That's brutal.
oh,
It's true, but it's brutal.
it gets worse, but I won't do that.
Do you sometimes, struggle to find material for your column? Because I love your reading. I never miss reading the Ron Hart column, either in the Daily Caller or I pick it up in one of the syndicated pieces that you're in across the country. But do you ever just say, oh man, I got no material?
No. When you're one of the few people from the right making fun of the left, it's pretty easy, right? And you got this buffoon Biden, you got Kamala Harris, you got all these Schumer and all these people in D.C. It's just an easy thing to do from the right wing looking at the left because no one else is doing it.
Nancy Pelosi this week said that Joe Biden was pretty much perfect. That was her exact words. So is Nancy, is she okay?
You know, I have a philosophy of Pelosi, Schumer, Biden. I'm not for term limits, but you should not be allowed to live in Washington, D.C. or be in Washington, D.C. past 2 facelifts or 2 hair plugs. that should be the limit, to D.C. But now Pelosi, I don't know. It looks, I don't know. I'm not a big fan. She's in this loony left world, which I love because the rest of the world sees them as what they are. It's crazy.
Yeah.
There's no centrist Democrats anymore. If there was a moderate Democrat, I may even consider voting for him at some point. I'm a libertarian. But there's just no centrist Democrats out there. There's no Sam Nunns. There's no one around to do anything anymore. Cheney, Hillary Clinton talked about Dick Cheney reaching across the aisle to him at one time. There was some bipartisanship back then, but I think she was more curious how he shot somebody and got away with it. Yeah.
Oh, gosh, Ron, it's always great having you. I'm sure we'll have you back for appearance number 4 before too long. Hey, if you want to keep up with Ron Hart's thoughts by reading his columns and following him on social media, learn more about him at Huckabee.tv. There's a direct link to Ron Hart and his columns. You'll want to do what I do, and that's read them every week.